I'm not asking you, I am telling you.
Richard Armitage is an actor known for his work in theater, television thrillers, and the Hobbit trilogy.
I have the only right.
Now from blockbuster to books.
I wanted to tackle all kinds of things that I saw in my school.
His second novel, The Cut, is a story of a man haunted by a 30-year-old murder.
People don't forget when children are murdered. It's seared into the heart of a place, etched into the very foundation of the community.
The Cut is a story of redemption.
When you put a camera on somebody, something can be revealed without that person necessarily knowing it.
The past becomes the present in The Cut, Club Calvi's Reader's Choice. Hello and welcome to our October meetup. We focus on fiction connected to the tri-state area. We've been caught up in The Cut by Richard Armitage, the compelling drama he brings to his acting roles he transferred to the pages of this book. We're going to talk to him about how his career and his personal life influenced his writing. Recently, we got together with some of our readers to discuss the book and its many surprises. And Club Calvi producer Danielle Parker will share questions and comments from the readers. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, Mary. You know, there was a lot to unpack with The Cut. The plot revolves around a 30-year-old mystery murderer that still haunts a community. It's a story told in two timelines and explores themes of bullying, retribution, and obsession. But it's the characters who send this over the top. And our readers said each person in this book had a dual nature, a little good, a little bad, and we weren't sure which side would turn up on each page.
The characters really drew me in. You know, it was, I wanted to see what was going to happen next.
It was very real, like when you were in high school, how people really were nice to your face and then bullying you.
It plays a lot with like generational trauma and how these same issues can pervade within a community over the course of 30 years.
I thought the dialogue was very kind of cinematic, right? You could really hear it.
I love that I could tell kind of Richard's background as well with the TV and film production.
There's something that screams out in the night, and it screams Baggins. And I just laughed at that point. I thought it was there were some little funny things he put in there from his own career, I think, that were just very enjoyable.
And it was enjoyable because that was another aspect to this book. It's humor. Richard sprinkled it in even as he cranked up the tension and grabbed our emotions. And Mary, readers have questions, a lot of questions about this thriller.
Oh, yeah, we have questions too, Danielle. Thanks so much. And I wanted to know, who is Richard Armitage and how is it that he can tackle the entertainment industry with such ease? I had the chance to speak with him at the famous Joe Allen restaurant in Midtown as we delved into his incredible career. From his powerful performances in the movies,
When he sees this chance to take back Erebor,
to his memorable ones on
if
television.
you carry on like this, you're going to ruin your whole career. I'm not asking you, I am telling you, you're out.
Actor Richard Armitage has done it all.
They talk like this all the time, saying what they're going to do and how they're going to go about it. They tell you, I'm going to be a doctor, prime minister. I'm an artist.
His theater debut on stage with Love, Love, Love had everyone falling in love with the actor's style. Tell me what it was like for the first time being in New York City, knowing you're going to be on stage.
I remember the morning I came out of the subway to start rehearsing Love, Love, Love with Michael Mayer, and I walked out and I saw the sign which said 42nd Street. Because I'd done that musical in England, I had to take a photograph of it because I was like, this is a pinch me moment.
Was the acting bug always in you? I mean, I guess you tap danced at 4 years old, but when did acting come into play?
Strangely enough, I remember being told a lot, smile and look like you're enjoying yourself. And I always thought, well, if I was enjoying myself, I'd be smiling. So I sort of realized I was maybe in the wrong lane. I wasn't so much of a kind of entertainer. I was more kind of internal, I suppose. So much later in my career, I went back to drama school to do a classical training because I wanted to do Shakespeare.
Armitage toured the world with Macbeth. Today, I'm meeting up with Armitage at a Broadway institution since 1965, Joe Allen's Restaurant, the classic neighborhood bistro for before, during, or after the theater, and it's also a favorite of Armitage.
Joe Allen's best burger in town, late night burger. After Love, 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 we would slip in here and finish the night.
With boundless energy, he has another role he's taken on author. His latest project, his second novel filled with suspense, The Cut, became the Club Calvi's Reader's Choice.
He sat in silence, staring at the wreck of his car. Maybe he was in shock, but he felt numb. He could sense something else being torn open, something ripping at the fabric of his life.
What was it for you that you were hoping readers took from this?
I wanted to tackle all kinds of things that I saw in my school, which was racism, sexism at the time, puberty, the evolution of kids and the hierarchy that happens in school, and I felt like maybe that was something that lots of people would relate to.
The author is also the narrator in the novel that began as an audiobook before its print publication.
I do try to put myself in the seat of the person listening. What I love about audio is I can control the atmosphere and the speed with which the listener receives the story. When you're left alone with a book, you read it as fast or as slow as you like. And I see it really like a score.
The kid was getting beaten black and blue. Max was used to all kinds of blood and gore. It was the currency of the horror genre. But this was savage. Kids against kids.
Thanks so much for being with us. The intensity. I just loved it. Congrats on being named the Reader's Choice.
Thank you for nominating me.
Readers are having such a good time with this. And didn't we have a good time having Joe Allen's to ourselves?
Oh my gosh, that was a blast from the past.
Before opening, I just loved it. And you're right, the burgers are fantastic.
So good.
Tell me about your experience with this, because as I was reading it, I felt like I was at the movie theater. It just felt like so theatrical. And I was wondering, as you were writing it, were you sort of feeling that as well?
Yeah, I think it's really how my mind works. I dream in pictures. I think it's the industry that I'm in, and it's really what the book is about, is how film can really affect us, and it's the kind of device of the story.
In the end, that's how the puzzle unfolded. It was quite incredible. You have such a unique set of experiences as an author, and you really bring that into all of your writing. Tell me about how you were able to wrap all of that in. I mean, clearly, even just the references you were making could only be made by somebody who has been in that industry.
Yeah, and I didn't want to make it too dense in terms of the technical side of creating a film, but I've been in a project where which was a found footage movie, so I've seen how those pieces get collected and glued together in The Cut, which is the title for an editing suite. So I sort of used all of that experience.
Oh, we just really adored it. You brought us this addictive thriller, and in your debut, Geneva, you were in that same genre. So do you dream in that? I mean, is thriller what you're all about?
I think so. Psychological thriller, certainly. I'm really curious about how the mind works and who we are in public and who we are in private, and all of these things kind of came into those characters.
It certainly was that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
One way in private, one way in public. Our readers have so many questions for you. So let's get back over to Danielle to hear what they have to say.
That's right, Mary. And it's probably no surprise that Richard Armitage knows how to write a good psychological thriller. I mean, he's acted in so many, and he knows how to tease out the suspense of a story. In fact, some of the most recent thriller movies that Richard has starred in have been adapted from the best-selling books by Harlan Coben. So that brings us to our first question.
Hey, Richard Armitage. It's your old pal Harlan Coben here. And I'm supposed to ask you a question about the cut, but I'd rather ask it about your process. And I'm curious, as an actor, did you just get into the role of sometimes of the protagonist the same way you would get into the role as an actor? Would you just kind of become them the way I used to see you become some of the characters that you and I worked on together? Thanks and good luck, and I hope everybody reads The Cut.
I can't believe you got Harlan Coben to ask me a question. Yeah, I get into the role because as I'm writing, I'm performing it, so I'm speaking it out loud. So yeah, I'm sort of creating the film in my head as if I was about to walk onto a set with Harlan Coben. So then I just write it down. But I've learned so much from that beautiful gentleman.
Well, add to that, you've gotten fine praise from the superstar author as well. He called your book ingenious, fast-paced, unpredictable. So that must feel really good.
That feels really good. And I mean, he's sort of become a bit of an unconscious mentor for me. I'm just watching how his stories are constructed for screen, but also when you read them, the sort of way that they are interlaced and the dovetailing of plot lines is, I mean, he's absolutely flawless.
Just brilliant. Yeah. When it comes to your writing process, will you fill us in on your particulars? I mean, I want to know the specifics. Do you write every day? Is it in the morning? I mean, tell us a little bit about that. Give us a little bit of the inside track.
I try to put aside a few hours every day to do some either writing or thinking about writing. Because a lot of my process is procrastinating over what's going to happen in a chapter. And then when I'm ready to finally write it down, that's what happens. And I'm a bit like that with learning lines for a character. I'll sort of chew over them for a long time beforehand, and then it comes out. But I really love the editing process afterwards when you go back to it the next day and you look at what you've written.
So much of the writing process is the editing process,
Completely.
isn't it? I really wanted to ask you about the person who drives this story. It's Ben. He has this incredible career, but there is so much going on behind the scenes that people just do not know about, and we're really concerned everything is just going to become crashing down on him, and that intensity we just feel throughout. Give us the idea about how you came about building his character.
Well, if I wasn't an actor, I would probably have been an architect. So I sort of based that passion, I injected that into this character of Ben, who has had a very successful career, and the idea of him being an architect building these huge monuments, these huge skyscrapers, that the whole thing might be a pack of cards about to collapse. I thought that was quite an interesting symbol for who he was, because he knows that there's something from his past that's not been resolved. And it's a sort of ticking time bomb for him, really.
Isn't it? Yeah, we have so many questions for you. We're going to take a quick break. And one reader wants to know how much of the cut was inspired by Hamlet. So we're going to break that down coming up next. Welcome back. We're here with author and actor Richard Armitage. Authors take different paths to starting their novel, and I was wondering for you, do you have everything lined up and ready to go before you even start the writing process? Do you know the plot? Do you know the ending? Some authors have said that they just write as they go along, and they don't really know where the story's going to take them.
Yeah, apparently Stephen King writes like that, but to me it's baffling. I would get lost in the woods. I guess because this is only the second attempt that I've had at creating a long-form story. The first time I did it, I knew, because I was working on Stay Close with Harlan, and I was filming at the time, so I knew I had to be really organized. So I plotted every single chapter. And I did the same for the second, and I'm doing the same for the third. So I know exactly what's going to happen in each chapter, because then I can go away to do my day job and come back and know where I was when I finished.
I loved hearing that you're working on the third, so we'll have to ask you about that. But right now, our readers have a number of questions about the cut, so let's get back to Danielle.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to hear about that third, too.
Me
so
too.
Yeah, exactly. So this question concerns Shakespeare. As you two discussed, Richard has a long history with Shakespeare plays. He's acted in several theater productions, and in the cut, some of the students are rehearsing the play, The Taming of the Shrew. But one of our readers named Julia says she was actually reminded of another work as she read the book.
It's kind of struck by the similarities to Hamlet and how Hamlet, puts on the play to kind of expose his uncle, for murdering his father, and kind of the similarities between Mark's character and Hamlet. So I was wondering if that's something you had in mind while you were writing.
I've got chills, because no, it wasn't something that I had in my head. But now I hear that question. Of course, it makes sense. It's the sort of ancient form of kind of forcing a confession, is to confront the person, not with an accusation, but with the evidence of it. I mean, and Hamlet's speech to the players about being truthful as an actor. Actors, we sort of follow that mantra all the time. Don't overact, because this needs to be real. But I love that question. So brilliant.
It's like he slowly revealed the truth.
Yes.
It was just such a brilliant question, and what a brilliant concept. For you created this complex series of incidents that lead to the truth, and we're not sure how you're going to get there, but we know it's happening. It's happening one step at a time. Tell me how you came up with it. I mean, it's this giant puzzle for us.
Yeah, for me too.
Yeah.
I've always been really interested and obsessed with true crime documentary, particularly ones where the documentary filmmaker has somehow recruited the criminal to be in their own documentary, and by putting a camera on them, they just reveal themselves. I just thought that's it's that moment that you kind of gasp because you think, oh my gosh, they're going to say what happened. And I just thought that would make for a compelling story beat.
And that story beat of bringing in the childhood issue of bullying was so significant. And then we see Mark come in at the end to really move this story along. It was an incredible moment, I believe, when I turned that page and realized, oh, he's back. And he's been holding something so serious for so many years that he felt compelled to take action.
And that's the reason I chose to use the sort of subject of bullying, because when he was a child, he wasn't able to come forward because he'd been bullied into silence. But until, when the criminal's about to be released from prison and he's an adult now, he feels, I can do something about this.
Yeah. When I had read that it was about bullying into silence, I would have never guessed it was Max who comes in at the end. So I really did enjoy that and was a real surprise. So thank you for that. We're going to check back in with our book club members. They have some more questions for you.
And that question is exactly what you're talking about. For a good part of our Readers Meetup, we talked about bullying. It's such a driving force in the development of the plot and the characters. And that boy you talked about named Mark, who is bullied, but he's not the only one who's affected. So is everyone else around him. And for our readers, it brought back memories of their own childhood. And so here are questions from two of them for Richard.
I was wondering if he was ever bullied, or was he a bully? Since it appears that there was a lot of bullying in this novel.
Bullying is so pervasive in our society. And it seems that most everyone has either been affected by it or knows someone who has been affected by it. And I'm wondering how the story might have changed if even one of Mark's peers would have stood up for him.
They are great questions. And in your own experience, had you seen that growing up at all?
Yeah, and I didn't want to hit the reader over the head with a sort of big issue, but it was part of my childhood. It's how the story really came about, the genesis of the story. I was at home visiting a cemetery in my village, and a gentleman came over to me and said, I'm really sorry for what we did to you at school. You've made something of yourself. I didn't remember him, but he'd remembered me. And that triggered this idea that, what happens to us in school, we carry it into our adult life, and it affects us. It shapes who we are. So yeah, I was on the receiving end of it, but I also observed it as well. So, and back then we were really left to our own devices. We had to solve it for ourselves. So that's part of what the story's about, solving it.
And how were you able to overcome that?
I think it's the reason I'm an actor. It became like a log of fuel on the fire. I just thought, I'm going to show you that I'm not nothing. And then I decided to pursue a career in the arts.
That's quite incredible, isn't it? And the interesting question there was, what if someone had stood up for Mark in this story? Would it have changed? And would it have changed for you?
I think so. And I think there's a moment with Mark, and I do think that was tapping into something that I'd experienced, is that I did have a kind of really close best friend who I thought was going to be the person that would always stand up for me. And the day that I heard that person joining the bullies was devastating for me. And I realized, oh, you're on your own. And I think that's when Mark really sort of he closes down.
But for you, whole different,
yeah. It's a much more positive outcome.
It is. Well, in the end, Mark did find his way,
he does.
didn't
He goes to LA and becomes a filmmaker.
I know,
funnily
congratulations,
enough.
Mark. It was quite incredible to see that development and that change in the story. We're not letting you go just yet. We have so many questions. We have one more question from our readers, too. And then we want to know what's next for you, because we heard third. So we can't wait to get a hint about that. We'll be right back. It's so nice talking with you. We have one more question from our book club members, so let's get back to Danielle.
Yeah, Mary and Richard, this question concerns resolution. So it's evident, as you've talked about, that from the early pages that there was going to be a big conflict between the two characters, Ben and Mark, and it's going to explode, and people around them will react to it. So this question is from Victoria.
I thought that you've created a brilliant cast of characters who all have their own faults and flaws and make mistakes throughout the story that they eventually or ultimately have to reckon with. I was wondering what role redemption plays in his novel.
Isn't that a wonderful question?
All of these questions really help me with my writing. I'm already thinking about the next one, about how to apply them. I realized early on that I thought I was writing a revenge story, but I didn't like the idea of a revenge story because that felt sort of a bit too monochrome. So it's a revenge story that becomes a story of atonement, but the character realizes that inside the book himself.
You know, it felt very emotional in those last few pages, so thank you for that. Tell me about what's next for you. I understand you're doing writing now, and you have a deadline approaching, so whatever hint you could give us, we would love to hear.
So I start work on a new television show next January, which is going to shoot in Belgium, and then I'm doing a stage play in London in the second half of the year.
Sounds
but
busy.
before that happens, I've got to finish book 3, so I really have to crack on and get that book finished by the end of this year, really, in the very first early draft. I'm about a third of the way through.
Well, we are really excited about it. Are we in the psychological thriller genre?
We are, and I was kind of, I narrated Jekyll and Hyde about 2 Halloweens ago, and I became very obsessed with that story. So this is going to be a psychological thriller about a doppelganger.
I cannot wait to read this. I'm really excited about it. Well, we wish you the very best. It's been such a pleasure being with you today and reading your work, both The Cut and Geneva. We just really are just thoroughly enjoying your writing. So, Richard Armitage, all the best to you. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Club Calvi is about to vote on a new book to read through the holidays. You could go to our website, clubcalvi.com, to find out more and read along with us. And thanks for joining us. We hope you'll join us for the next meetup.